How many of you drink coffee but don't know how exactly coffee beans are transformed into a cup of coffee that you are drinking? The process of the coffee bean goes through before it reaches your cup of coffee is very important and determines the aroma and flavor of the cup of coffee you're drinking. Three main ideas I'm going to teach you about today with the coffee process are the drying and browning process, the roasting process, and the brewing process. To begin, I will start going over the drying process. First thing to do after picking the mature coffee beans out of the coffee cherry is to let them dry. At this point, it's a green and tannish color and smells like grass. You will start with drying them on a patio for 48 hours. Barista Institution states that by that time, they will have the humidity of 8 to 12%. This is the time that you want to put them into a mechanical dryer, like a drum roaster, for about 4 to 8 minutes. A drum roaster is a bin that increases the temperature by directly heating it with flame, and it rotates the beans at the same time to create an even bake. CoffeeResearch.org warns that the machine should never exceed 40 to 45 degrees Celsius in the drying process because it will lose its flavor. Now that you know the components of the drying stage, I will explain the browning stage. Next to brown the beans is to have it in the browning stage, which is basically a chemical reaction called the Maillard process. This process is found on a website called Gym7 that describes it very well. It is where the beans turn brown by having a chemical reaction with the pH balance with the reducing sugars and amino acids when they react to where the coffee bean actually turns brown. This is where you're going to slow down and create more flavor development by aroma precursors starting to convert to aroma compounds. Some things to know about the Maillard process is without sugar, it won't turn brown. Heat speeds the process up and water speeds the process down. Depending on the sugar, the aroma precursors react differently, creating a huge range of different flavors and aroma compounds. Now that we know the browning process, I will go over the roasting stage. Coffee beans come in three main categories, which are light, medium, and dark roasts. These roasts are determined by how long the beans are actually in the roaster. So the longer they're in, the darker the roast is going to be. If the beans are in there for too long or have it too high of a temperature, they will burn and won't be good. The amount of time can vary from different procedures while roasting coffee beans. How fast or slow they are roasted will determine the major flavor profiles of the beans in the batch. Barista Institution states that when the temperature is high but it's cooked for a short amount of time, it's called fast roasting. Fast roasting is going to give an outcome of more aroma compounds, produce beans with stronger flavor, and that's where you're going to have to be most careful about burning the beans. Barista Institute states that when the temperature is low, but the time is very long, it's a slow roasting process, which is going to be useful when wanting to make espresso beans. Generally, espresso beans are roasted as dark, but they can also be light as well. They're preferred less acidic and fuller in body because during the brewing process, it's pressed together with a strong metal plate and it's extracted into a cup of 1 fluid ounce. This 1 fluid ounce is the most confined amount of caffeine per fluid ounce out of all of the beans. It does come in a light roast, like I said, which has 20 more milligrams of caffeine compared to a dark roasted espresso bean. It's going to give the organic acids more time to break down, resulting in less acidic coffee flavor. Now that you're informed on the different procedures of roasting beans, I will share with you different ways to brew. There are many different techniques to make a cup of coffee, and I will go over the 3 most popular ways. Typical coffee brewer, which we all know what that looks like, as it is shown on my slides. It is using gravity of extremely hot water through the grounds of coffee beans. This is usually ground on a metal filter, which is a medium grind. Next is a pour over, which is just like a manual way of a coffee brewer. This is ground on a finer setting, and in my slides you can see the type of cone-shaped paper filter and cone-shaped appliance that is required to make this happen. You will want to make sure that you grind it on a proper setting because you don't want grounds in the bottom of your cup, or the flavor is not going to be extracted as well if it is a too coarse of grind. This also gives a bolder flavor than just a regular machine because it's going to be slower. The coffee machine is compared to like under 5 minutes, and the pour over is like 6 to 10 minutes. Another interesting way to brew coffee is through a French press. This process, you want a medium coarse grind setting. You will also need a French press, which is like a mantle that you push down, and first you put grounds in the bottom of it, fill it with hot water, and press it down, and then you just pour out the liquid. This is going to give a different flavor than the other brewing ways and will give you a stronger, more acidic flavor. My slides show a very great representation of the process of a French press. Now that you know how to create the flavor profile of coffee beans you would be interested in, now I'll go over the points I made. I have explained the drying, browning, roasting, brewing process into a wonderful cup of coffee. Now I'd like you to go try a new way to brew. Thank you.